We bring in John Sandweg. John, the former ICE Director under President Obama, joins us all the time talking about immigration. And I want to kind of slow down a little bit and talk about this. And you know, I know you're a lawyer as well, so and all your immigration experience will give us an idea. To me, what they're saying here about this Supreme Court ruling, the administration, that it was 9-0 in their favor, seems to be spin at best. But maybe you can explain, because their basic argument is that, as Pam Bondi was talking about, you know, they didn't rule against them on matters of national security and foreign policy. But the Supreme Court did say they were supposed to, quote unquote, facilitate the return, right? How do you see this?
I don't think there's any question, Connell, that Chief Justice Roberts wants the administration to just bring him back. I think it's always hard to tell what the Supreme Court is saying, but I think they're trying to avoid this big confrontation where the president just knowingly, does not comply with a federal court's order. So there is wiggle room in the language, and of course, as a matter of law, all of this boils down to agency theory, meaning is El Salvador serving as an agent under the control of the United States, or are they serving as an autonomous government? To the administration, I think this case is much more than just this one guy, Abrego Garcia. You also have these 250 Venezuelans who there's separate legal actions, and we're heading quickly to a day where some federal courts might order some of them be brought back. So as you saw in that Oval Office meeting, the administration's going out of its way to act like this is El Salvador acting independent of the United States under their sovereign law, and no court has the authority to tell El Salvador what to do, much less tell us to tell El Salvador what to do.
But if they're looking at this as a 9-0 decision in their favor and focusing on something known as executive deference, I believe, but they're glossing over the directive given by the Supreme Court and Chief Justice Roberts to facilitate the return, right? So wouldn't that put the administration, here's the SCOTUS ruling, the order properly requires the government to facilitate his release from custody in El Salvador. So wouldn't they be in violation of that order if they're not making any effort at all to facilitate his return?
No, there was some additional wiggle room in that order, and additionally, they kind of said that the district court needs to be cognizant of the limit, the president's power to do foreign policy. So I think, if I'm the district court, what I want to do, and I think what the plaintiffs' lawyers want to do, is I want to dig into what is the nature of the relationship with El Salvador. The president tweeted over the weekend, they're working for us, doing this as a big favor. There's a lot of that kind of discussion in the Oval today, and when this whole concept was announced by Secretary of State Rubio, he said they're getting paid $6 million. There are a lot of arguments out there that El Salvador is serving as a contractor of the United States, and therefore all of these, the valid arguments the administration would have would not apply. But of course, they're blocking the discovery. They won't give the court that information about the nature of the relationship. So really, they're forcing a showdown here where I think this case is headed back to the Supreme Court. I don't think it'll be 9-0 again, Connell, but we're headed back to a place where this might be the vehicle. With all these legal cases over all of the executive actions, this very well could be the one. We have this showdown, but is the administration going to follow court orders or not?
Final thing, John, on the politics of all of this. How do you see that? Because it seems to me the president likes this conversation. It likes to, even what you and I are talking about, likes to make it seem as if people who are opposed to him are somehow defending, quote unquote, bad people or gang members or that kind of thing. He likes the politics here, it seems.
I think you're right, Connell. I don't think this case is getting solved or Abrego Garcia is coming back unless there's a political mandate, unless there's a popular uprising or he thinks this is hurting. I mean, we saw this on the tariffs with the stock market dropping, with the bond market dropping, he pivoted. I think, we saw this in the first administration with family separation. This is the question. If there's going to be a political uprising, right now he doesn't seem to be paying the price. And I agree with you. I think he's right. He puts people like us in a position where we appear to be defending an MS-13 gang member, even though what's really going on here is the rule of law. And the fact is, there was a legal order explicitly prohibiting this guy's deportation to El Salvador that we just blew off, and now we won't take any steps to fix it.
All right, John, as always, thanks for your analysis, balanced analysis, I might add, as usual. Thank you for all that. We appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.